Joining us now on the Buyers Barricades guest line, head coach Jeff Traylor. Coach, it's game week, man. How excited are you?
Fired up, brother. How are you, Jason?
We are fun, man. I love this time of year because I know, we get you guys on every Monday. And before we talk about this week's game, I want to go back to the kickoff luncheon on Friday. And Joe and I, we had the tough task, coach, of broadcasting live from Circa Las Vegas. Otherwise, we would have been at the luncheon. But going into it, there was some comments you made about questions you wanted to ask Emmitt Smith that you were said you probably can't ask him that. What questions did you want to ask that somebody said, no, that's probably not a good question?
I'm really bothered still about the Jimmy and the Jerry, and the breakup. I was a diehard Cowboys fan, and I was kind of like, can't we just get out of each other's way and let's just keep this dynasty going? I want to know where he sided on that issue, but they said I was being too Jason-like. I was just being too media, wanting to dig too deep. I need to be a little more friendly. So I did what they asked me to do.
So you came up with a Dancing with the Stars question?
I tried to keep it politically correct where everybody'd be happy, and he went with it. And I did ask him about carrying the ball with his left hand. That was a fascinating deal. He told me that Norv Turner and Jimmy really tried to make him carry it with his right hand, or put the ball in your outside hand, and he just wouldn't do it. He liked carrying his left, and that was pretty fascinating. He was great. He was really good. He was fun, engaging, a lot of fun, easy to talk to. I had a really good time with him.
We have an opportunity, Jeff, to interview him at Super Bowl every year because he's got a tequila company, and he's always nice enough to bring us a bottle, which I always thought was very nice. But he'll give you his true thoughts. And what a great deal for UTSA to have a big star like Emmitt Smith.
Well, I felt like it kind of ran a little long. I was worried about how we had been there so long. When you're asking him a question, like he really answers it. I'm not short-winded myself. So I kept looking at the audience, but no one had left, 94 tables, and they all had their eyes on Emmitt. Every word he said, everyone was hanging on it. It was a really fun deal. Bob and Peggy knocked it out of the park again. And, of course, the city of San Antonio always shows up and helps us so much. Really special day for my players and our city.
It was, and it looked like you guys raised a lot of money, not only having, 94 tables that were sold, but the online auction. And that's the name of the game right now in college football. Raise that NIL money.
Yeah, and we don't, like I've told y'all before, we don't hand out stupid money. Like our kids get enough for maybe a car payment, some insurance. Most of them send some of their money back home to their families. We're not handing out crazy money, but we've done enough to at least keep our players happy and want to stay here and play and win a lot of ball games. And only losing 3 kids in 5 seasons is pretty remarkable. So I'm very, very grateful for our city and Bob and Peggy and Martin and April and there's so many people behind the scenes, Jason, that give that they're wonderful. This city never lets me down. I'm very grateful to be the head coach here.
Well, Jeff, that and I know you don't like to give yourself compliments, but that says a lot about you and the program that you're running here. That guys have a chance to go off and maybe make some more money, and they don't. They stay here. So. Yeah, your culture, your program, everything has been such a success. And to me, that proves it.
Yeah, like this year, the biggest offer, Joe Evans was offered, north of $650, and Joe stayed. And we don't pay anything crazy like that, like nothing, not even near that. And I told him, I said, Joe, you got to really look at that, man. That's life-changing money. And he's like, Coach, I won't name the school where they were trying. He said, I don't want to go to that city. And I'll just wait and make it in the NFL. So everybody should be rooting for Joe Evans. Just an amazing story. And I've got many more. Oscar, we can go down the list. Look at the 5-year players on our roster. It's pretty remarkable how veteran we are and guys that all stayed here. And they're all conference football players. So extremely blessed and really excited for our football season to kick off to see what kind of team we're going to have again.
Coach, we make fun of in NFL preseason games. They're boring. They're not as fun to watch, this, that, and the other. Colleges, you don't get that. Even in high schools, you can get a scrimmage in before the regular season starts. You guys, it's Roadrunner on Roadrunner until you kick off Saturday afternoon against Kennesaw State. At what point as a coach do you feel like your team is ready for that season opener?
Well, you're never ready. I've used the same quote a million times. Like, this is my 20th year to be a head coach. You're never ready, but you need to. You just need to go ahead and do it because they're just tired of hitting each other. So the game, and I know everybody's like, well, you should practice harder. You should practice better. Then you'd be better. Well, that sounds wonderful, but you don't want to lose your whole football team tackling live every single day. Your common sense, when it's UTSA versus UTSA, there's a 100% chance I have. The odds doubled that somebody could get injured. When it's me versus somebody else, it's only half of those guys out there. So my odds go down. So I am really excited that we're playing someone else. To your point, I wish we could get a couple of scrimmages against other teams before you get to the season because, like you said, in high school ball in Texas, you get 2 of those. And it at least gets the guys excited. You're not going to run a lot of your offense, a lot of your defense. You're just going to run your base offense and base defense, but they're getting to play against somebody else. Well, there's so many upsets week 1. There's so many crazy things that happen, especially with the transfer portal. You're not even quite sure who you're playing against.
Well, Jeff, when you go out on the field Saturday afternoon, is there a point in time where you'll know, okay, the offense looks good or the defense, they're doing what we expected them to do? Is there a point in time during this first game that you'll know that?
Well, what's funny about that kind of stuff? Like last year, we were very clean. We were clean. We just had 3 consecutive possessions with turnovers. 3. But as far as the game, we were way cleaner than the year before last. The year before last in the season opener, we were not very clean. We just hit on a few big plays, got into double overtime. Looks like we scored a lot of points, but we really didn't play that well. So it's kind of weird how that is. It just works out different each time. I just want to be clean. I want our kids to execute. I want to know they look coached, so they are coached. There's nothing worse than when you look out there and it's just not a good product on the field and you're responsible for it.
UTSA head football coach Jeff Traylor joining us here on the Blitz. They open up Saturday against Kennesaw State. Get your tickets, buy your season tickets, because you guys have expectations this year. Where you pick to finish, second in the conference right now. Does that change anything internally, knowing where the media polls and fan polls expected you to be, say, than your first year in the American?
Well, the game's changed, right? Like, first, I'd much rather be picked second than where we were when we got here. We were picked last in most all polls, and that was Conference USA, and we were picked next to last in some more polls. So I'd way rather be picked second, because what that does in the new landscape of college football, 12 of us are going to make the playoffs. Well, only 1 from our group's going to make it. So we don't have a mulligan. We got to be almost perfect. Well, if you don't start off in a position, like we're already getting some top 25 votes already. So at least people recognize our program. So let's say if we were to have a good year, we would be the team that would have a great chance to get to go. That changes stuff. You got to coach differently in September because the games matter more in September. The games always matter, but for us, every single one of them matters if you really consider yourself to be a contender for that 12-team playoff spot.
Well, Jeff, that brings up an interesting thing. And I don't know how much you have to do with the schedule when it comes to UTSA, but obviously after Kennesaw State, and you can't overlook them, I know, but you've got Texas State and then Texas. I mean, that's not exactly a cupcake schedule to start.
Yeah, we've been very unfortunate when it comes to that. Now, if you can do something, it's big time. But what stinks is like last year, Liberty was rewarded for not playing anybody, where SMU was punished for playing Oklahoma and TCU. And that, to me, then why are we scheduling anybody any good? Let's just schedule anybody we think we can win against. So that left a bad taste in my mouth, but I don't have control over that. Now, GJ's done a fantastic job at Texas State, obviously, and Sark has at Texas. But this Kennesaw team, what's very interesting about them, their coach has been there for 10 straight years. Now, that's pretty impressive. They've won a lot of football games. Now, they stepped back last year, and I thought it was very ingenious what he did. He knew he was going to FBS for the first year. He redshirted 75% of his roster. You'd have to be a genius to figure out how to redshirt 75% of your roster, because you only can play 4 games, right? So how he did that, I don't know. And then he got those kids to buy in and come back. So they've done when you watch them play, they're just coached well. They do what they're asked to do. They're a proud program. They've won a lot of games in the past. Their fan base shows up. They got a beautiful stadium. I just think in Texas, we haven't really heard about Kennesaw a lot. But let's be honest, man, it wasn't too long ago nobody heard about UTSA either. And we better be careful of these guys.
I got to admit, Coach, I had to look up what their mascot is, and what I found more interesting is their notable alumni include Ty Pennington and Ryan Seacrest.
Yep, I get it. I was the same way. I'm just being very honest with you. And then I started studying them. And, that coach has been there a decade. Pretty much the same staff. Then I'm watching their – I know this is silly. I'm watching their stadium. I'm like, man, it's a really nice stadium. Then I watch their players. I'm like, Jiminy Cricket. They line up. They do what they're asked to do. They play very hard. These guys are going to be better than y'all want them to be. They're already way better than we wanted them to be. I can promise you.
Hey, so I can't look at their record last year and say, what a cupcake coming in. But then, as mentioned, we were in Vegas over the weekend, and all the underdogs covered this weekend. And you had the outright win with Georgia Tech upsetting Florida State. I imagine you probably mentioned that to your guys today, right?
Well, do you think I just happen to know that SMU is a 28-point dog and they had to take the lead on the very last drive? Might that have been shown in our team meetings? We're only a 24.5-point favorite. So 28-point dog. SMU took the lead with about a minute left in that game, I believe.
Yeah, well, yeah. And so Kennesaw State, because Jason doesn't, I don't know anything about them. Most people listening probably don't. What do they do well, Coach? Are they a running team, passing team? What do they do?
Well, this is going to scare y'all because y'all seen our luck with Army. They run the option. So that's already got us alarmed. Coach Bohannon's been there for, like I said, a decade. A lot of his former players are coaching for him. And they just have it. They got a good culture. You can just tell what they do. They base have a 4-down front on defense, and which is different for us because our defense is an odd. So we don't get to see a ton of that because all we've been playing against is the UTSA Roadrunners for the last, 8 months. So I'll give you a fair analogy because I think y'all are more familiar with Sam Houston. Sam Houston stepped up to FBS last year. They did not have a great record, but they played everybody to a one-possession game. Sam Houston beat Kennesaw 24-21, and Sam Houston played everybody on their schedule to the very last drive. So I just don't think we've got a good sense. Like, I didn't realize they had redshirted 75% of their roster until I studied them. Now, when I realized that, I'm like, Jiminy Cricket. That was smart. They were playing for nothing. So they got all their guys a year older. They got them all back now.
Wow. Man, it's crazy when you look at it that way. And yeah, I realized, what Sam Houston did, and Coach Keeler over there, I mean, they played everybody close. They didn't get the wins that people expect from Sam Houston while they were jumping up. So that is a great comparison and analogy. So, when you go to this game, it's there. Now, you look at the way they run their offense with what you just said. Defensively, you've got 2 guys in the NFL right now, and you had 2 that went somewhere else off a really good defense. How do you replace those 4 guys?
Great question. I feel really good about our corners. We brought in Denver Harris, and Denver's been fantastic. I've known him forever, Coach Graham and Coach Price, and we all know those North Shore coaches very well. And Denver's been really good. Styra Stitz-Dumas has been really good at corner. Zach Morris has been really good at corner. Zay Frazier has been really good at corner. We feel good about the corner spot. We like both of our safeties. We also brought in 2 really good ones. We got Elliott Davidson back at safety. We've got Ken Robinson back. But Jimmy Wyrick, we brought in out of Stanford, is a really good safety. And Jay Lou out of New Mexico is a really good safety as well. Now, the nose guard, losing Brandon Madison's a big loss. The kid was a really good player. But we've got a lot of depth there. Joe Evans has been playing forever. Brandon Brown, Osiris out of Atascocita has been playing forever. Ronald Triplett been playing forever. We've got some guys down there we feel really good about. Jamal Liggins been starting at linebacker forever. Martavius French. We also brought in, a linebacker named Brevin Randall, who's out of Marshall, Texas, played at Louisiana Tech. We really did well in the portal. I know we're all sad we lost 2 of our own players, but we picked up a ton of great players as well.
All right, Jeff, I know you waited to come onto this show to make this announcement. Who is your starting quarterback Saturday?
Yeah, that's going to be unveiled right at Saturday at 2:30 when either a right-hander named Eddie Marburger or a left-hander named Owen McCowan takes that first snap, or they might both be out there together just to extend the drama one more play.
Oh, one more.
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah. Well, look, if Kennesaw State's going to do some stuff we're not used to seeing, why not the UTSA Roadrunners, right?
You know, if they weren't one right-handed and one left-handed, and one they both just deserve to keep playing. They both deserve to keep competing. We've rotated them all year, and I know people are saying, well, what about how they're going to get used to the ones? Well, y'all see the way we play. We play a ton of receivers. We play a ton of tight ends. We play a ton of tailbacks. We play a ton of offensive linemen. We rotate our kids like crazy. So it's not like they're going to be playing with one center or one group of receivers. So they're both rotating, and we'll keep competing all the way to the very end.
Well, Jeff, I do have to ask, and I don't want to, obviously you're not going to say until Saturday afternoon, that's fine. When you get together, though, with your coaches, do you guys have some idea between y'all?
It depends on what day you ask us. I mean, the data is dead even. These guys keep going back and forth. I just am not a guy that believes in playing two quarterbacks. So at one point, I'm going to pick one, and we're not going to look over there at that sideline. We're going to play that one guy. I just think it's very important for the maturation of a quarterback. Believe it or not, Frank Harris used to not be the Frank Harris we saw in the end of his career. We had to grow him up and get him through some of that stuff. And I hope whichever one we choose, people cut those guys some amazing grace and compare them to Frank in his first year and not Frank in his fourth year.
So, Coach, as you say that, as I thought you just didn't want to name a starter so that Kennesaw State had to prepare for both. As we sit right now at 5:32 on the 26th, you truly haven't picked a quarterback. Like the quarterback doesn't know, the coaches don't know. It's still a competition until you decide, however you make your ultimate decision. Wake up in the morning and say, all right, here's the guy. Is that truly where we're at right now?
That'd be a little bit of a stretch. I'd say at this point, it's more of what we're doing to keep it from Kennesaw. It would not be fair to that kid that he didn't know he was going to start the week previous. So that'd be a stretch. So yeah, there's 4 people that know. That'd be the coordinator, me, and the 2 quarterbacks.
Well, see, Jeff, we had to ask. It's kind of like you with Emmitt Smith. We have to ask the question. You wouldn't be satisfied if you didn't.
No, and I really don't want to ever tell a lie, right? Especially some guys that have been really good to us through the years. And so I want to be as honest and transparent as I can without hurting my team. And if you remember, we had Frank Harris out for the entire bowl game, and we worked 5 weeks, and nobody knew but my 120 players and my coaching staff, the best kept secret possibly in the country.
You're not lying about that. I mean, the culture you have over there's no leaks. I mean, you think about your program, you saw what happened to the Seattle Mariners coach, right? He found out he was fired from a news scroll, even though he had a meeting scheduled for noon, but about 10 o'clock, he saw it on the news and went, well, this meeting isn't going to be the way I thought. So credit to you and your crew over there for keeping everything in-house.
Well, we do have an amazing culture, and you've got to be a really different human in this new world and climate to not want to be the guy that, wants to be in the know. And I tell my guys all the time, only the guys that are not in the know want to be in the know. If you're in the know, you don't need to tell anybody. You're already in the know. So let's just keep it between us and let the guys that are not in the know worry about that stuff. So my guys have been more than gracious about that. I'm very grateful to coach a bunch of kids that are that mature, and I've been blessed. It's been an amazing 5-year run.
It really has been. We're going to keep it going. Get that first win on Saturday. I know Monday's a holiday, so we get to talk to you on Tuesday to get ready for that game up in San Marcos and rehash this one and ask about that quarterback that did roll out there and take that first snap at 2:30.
Well, appreciate you guys so much, Joe and Jason. Y'all been wonderful this entire time, and we're going to show up and have another great year. I feel it.
Appreciate it. Yep. Coach Jeff Traylor here on the Blitz. Thanks, Coach.
Thank y'all. God bless. Birds up.
God bless. Birds up. Jeff Traylor on the Buyers Barricades guest line, where they provide traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond, online at buyersbarricades.com.